a little while ago, David Tuig wrote a story about the Alfa Romeo 4C, sharing his point of view on that car and why he thought it turned out the way he did. Now, for those who don't know, David Tuig, he's one of our contributors. He is an engineer, and he led the development team behind the Alpine A110. And that's significant because they benchmarked the Alfa Romeo 4C. So he knows that car inside out more than a typical journalist will, because he's pored over it, he's weighed it, he's measured everything, he's taken the 4C apart, all sorts. And so his is a very informed view. And in this story that he wrote for us, it's available still on the Intercooler app and website. It's called Bum Steer, if you want to go and find it. I will put a link in the description as well. And it's very insightful. But I just wanted to pick out this one paragraph, which perhaps reveals why the car turned out the way it did. Now, again, this is just his opinion. He doesn't know for certain, but it's an educated opinion, isn't it? He said, "I am convinced the engineers made an early decision to go unassisted with the steering. It doesn't have power steering, but were then unable to keep the vehicle mass under control. The giveaway is the front kingpin or steering axis inclination. It's close to zero, almost no caster angle at all.
Which is why it doesn't go in a straight line.
Yeah, caster angle is best understood by looking at the angle of a bicycle's headstock. If it's steep, like on a road racing bike, the steering tends to be flighty. If it's laid back, like that crazy chopper in the movie Easy Rider, it will be stable but lazy. That of the 4C is so unusually upright, you can actually see it with the naked eye. You don't need fancy geometry measuring equipment. So he thinks it comes down to caster. Now, as you say, if you've got no caster at all, you're going to have very low steering effort, but a very flighty, agitated feel on the road. If you have lots and lots of caster, you've got very high steering effort, but massive stability in a straight line.
Yeah, so and also great self-centering when you're coming off lock.
Yeah. The
and with power steering, it doesn't matter what the steering effort is.
Exactly. So this car has no power steering, and the weight got away from it. So originally it was going to be something like an 800 kilogram car. But this is David's theory. As the car sort of moved through its gestation, it got heavier and heavier. Perhaps there were budgetary issues, and heavier, cheaper materials had to be used here and there. Perhaps they ran out of time. Perhaps marketing got hold of it. Whatever happened, the car turned out heavier than it should have been. He's weighed them, and apparently they are much closer to 1,000 kilograms than 800. And so you've got maybe 10, 15, 20% more weight than imagined. Hence, the steering becomes outrageously heavy at low speeds, maneuvering. You need to get rid of the caster angle entirely just so that the steering effort is bearable in normal driving. And that's how you get that very flighty, hyperactive, agitated steering that means it's just all over the place on the road.
But it's so fundamental, isn't it? I mean, it strikes me as being a pretty extraordinary mistake to make. They must have known that, I mean, all things end up being heavier than, their engineers would initially like them to be. And what would I don't know, I mean, David would know much better than me, but I don't know what a power steering pump would have, added to the weight of the car. Not much, but probably a few kilos. Have been by almost all other standards, a fantastically lightweight car. Even by A110 standards, it would have been a fantastically light car. And again, its story could have been so they just made the wrong decision, didn't they?